What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Technician Podcast. This is number three, no, four for the year 2022. And I'm with my girl, Elise Riley. Hello, Elise.
Hello, Trav. I'm so
Hey,
excited to.
yeah. I mean, as we said, we've been wanting to put this together for a little while now, but it was going to happen at the perfect time, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
Now, for those of you that don't know, I will let Elise introduce herself and let you know what she does exactly.
Amazing. Okay, so my name is Elise, and I am a coach. For the past half decade, I've worked with 300 one-on-one clients, helping them debunk limiting beliefs and elevate their energy on a mind, body, soul level. So, helping them with nutrition, with exercise, movement, and also mindset as well. So, helping people cultivate self awareness to increase their confidence and their love and acceptance for self.
Hmm. Which I think it makes all that so beautiful. The fact that how young you are and what you've been doing for people. Like, who's been your oldest client? Have you been dealing with people like 50 plus?
Yeah, for sure.
Mm. See, that's incredible. Like, we have such a social construct idea of like, oh, age, oh, what are you only 20, 21? You can't do this. It's like, dude, you're changing people's lives that, as we've just said, they're over 50 years old.
Yeah, exactly. And when I first started in the coaching industry, I was quite young. I was about 16, 17. So
Mm.
I was, of course, getting people who were almost double my age, even more. And honestly, over that experience and that time, age really is just a number. It's all about the energy at the end of the day.
Course. And that's something that, people are starting to understand more. It is still quite new to everyone, but I think they're starting to understand that, yeah, like I've got two new roommates that are 21 years old, but it's like I'm talking to 40-year-olds because it's almost like they've lived lives before this.
Yeah.
Like it just adds a whole new concept. So, what I'd love to do though, to really set this up, let's take it back. So, however far you can go back and what you can remember, let's start back there.
Okay, so back to like childhood, are you saying?
Childhood would be good, yeah.
Okay. What would you like to know specifically?
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Melbourne, and at the end of primary school moved to country Melbourne, so more so in the Macedon Ranges of Victoria.
Mm.
And yeah, I spent high school life up there and then moved to the Gold Coast in May 2020.
Yeah, wow. So when that move was happening, what was happening during that time for you to actually come up to the Gold Coast?
Yeah, so I guess as a young kid, I always had this attraction to the Gold Coast, potentially because of the theme parks and things like that. However, it never really went away. I've been very much so a sun baby. Get me in the sun, whatever chance that I get, and also at the beach. So, being in country Melbourne, any beach is at least an hour away. So it was definitely a lot different. And at the start of 2020, I'm sure everyone listening can relate, especially with all the changes in the world during that time. I was going through a lot and just had this inner knowing that I needed to be in the Gold Coast. And I remember sitting at brunch with a few girlfriends at the time, and they were all just everyone in Melbourne jokes about how we all say we're going to move to the Gold Coast and no one actually ever does. And we were sitting at the table and they were all talking about moving. And I was like, yeah, I want to go too. And they all looked at me with just this face of, what? Where did that come from? And honestly, Trav, I don't even think I was speaking that day. I really truly believe that something come and channeled through me,
Mm.
as at the time I was running a successful personal training business. I was studying for my nutrition exams. I had been in a long-term relationship at that point, and everything seemed pretty cool. Like I was had like 50 clients on the go. So for those people that were sitting at the table with me, they were kind of looking at me like, why would you leave that life behind?
Of course. And that would question them so much because they're like, you would bring out their insecurities of they probably wanted to do the same thing. And they're like, it's not possible. But then you in that moment in time made it possible. And that would have freaked them out.
Yeah, well, that was very much so at the start of the year, and I didn't move until the following year. So for the whole of 2020, there was this dance between stepping outside of my comfort zone and inside of the comfort zone, and a really push and pull of like, this is going to be the best thing ever, or what if I fail? And a lot of limiting beliefs come up around that because there were so many things that would have had to change in order to get me to the Gold Coast, and they did. So
How did you navigate those feelings and thoughts? Because that's not something you would have known about really compared to what you know now, right?
yeah, so for me, I was very much so in the nutrition and training space, and mindset I didn't really know a lot about. I didn't meditate or anything like that, and my excuse for that was I didn't have enough time.
Of
That old chestnut.
course.
And I have been really blessed to have grown up around a beautiful family who are really supportive of everything that I do. So for me, I never really had experienced anxiety or anything like that or any traumas. So I was someone that was quite a high achiever and found things come to me quite easily through school. Even with my relationship at the time, I was blessed to be with someone who was really respectful and super fun. Like we went and did really cool stuff together and travel that not many people when they're young get to do as a couple. However, there was this knowing within me that I have this purpose, this mission on this earth to serve, and I wasn't living to my highest potential. And so the start of 2020 happened. Obviously, gyms closed, so I started training people from home. I had this knowing that I'm moving to the Gold Coast, and this knowing that my partner at the time wasn't going to come with me. And not that because he didn't want to, it was because I needed to go alone. And all of these things started to come up, and I had this major cloud of what if this is the worst decision I make in my life? And then I constantly was in this loop, this spiral of questioning, and which therefore led to this anxiety that I never experienced before, this nervousness constantly about what's going to happen next, not having that control over the future. As being a Virgo, I like to know, like, have my to-do list and all these things. And so to have no control of what was coming next was really, really scary for me.
And what happened
And
during that time with, oh, sorry, you go on, you continue.
oh no, ask your question. Yeah.
I was just going to say, what was going on with your partner during that time? Because I know people listening will be wondering, like, you're going through these feelings, you're going through these emotions. In what way did it affect him?
Oh, looking back in hindsight, knowing, so with these feelings in this inner turmoil within myself, I definitely projected that onto him. And looking back now, like everyone, I truly believe that everyone does the best with what they know at the time. And it always comes from a place of love, even if it's the worst thing imaginable. And I read something today about soul journeys. And what if, like, reframing someone's hurt towards you or projection towards you as what if their soul was contracted to your life? And what if they loved your soul so much that they needed to cause pain in order for you to evolve and be the person that you needed to be? And I read that. Whoo, saucy.
Holy, that hits different. That's,
Yeah.
and I see that happening. I see it happening around me. I've actually seen a few partnerships dissolve recently and for the best, you know, obviously including myself. there's a decision that was made there. And but I've seen her do so well being on this other side of heartbreak. Like it's almost like it's allowed her to just spread her wings and go and do these things that she's been avoiding for so long. And as much as you would know, it hurts on both sides. There's so much pain involved with it. But as you said, from the ashes we rise, and we have that chance to become better. And my mate, actually, Luke O'Neill, was saying this today about, no, what was it, yesterday? And he was talking about my experience and what we're going through and everything. And he was like, what happens when you go into the gym and you tear a muscle? You're tearing muscles and fibers to get bigger and stronger, right? But you have to then eat well and sleep and rest and get protein. He actually made that a really practical way of looking at heartbreak. It's like you can decide to stay within that heartbreak and stay in that sadness and stay in bed and cry all the time and just get worse and worse and worse and get sadder and sadder and sadder. Or we can say, okay, this is my chance for my heart to actually get bigger, for me to love harder, be stronger, become more, because that heart has been broken for a reason to then expand. And taking that protein, taking that rest, taking that sleep, and cultivate this beautiful new ability to do so much more. And I loved that. I was like, holy shit. And then the fact that you just said that, yeah, that resonates big time. That's cool.
Well, I definitely projected this turmoil onto him during that time. And looking back in hindsight, I was just so stuck, and I didn't want to break his heart. So I was wanting him to get sick of me and get rid of me, so then I didn't have to go and do it myself, because I would rather be hurt than to go and hurt someone else.
Yeah, yeah.
I juggled that for the entire year, and I was really blessed to be with someone who was willing to put up with all of that. And obviously, like, your vibe attracts your tribe. So for me, if I'm projecting all this, it wasn't just me. And at the same time, I can choose to be at cause and rather be victim to the things that were happening on the other end of the scale. And looking back in hindsight, I definitely know that I would handle the situation a lot differently now. And that's okay. That's okay, because it's led me to exactly where I am today, which is on the Gold Coast.
Yeah. And so this is where I know the story and the journey just gets really juicy because, as you said, you had to go through a lot of pain to get here. And I think most people that do become great and get onto an amazing journey, they have to go through so much pain. It's like that hero's journey, right? We see it in so many movies. We need to be broken down before we can build back up. So once you got to the Gold Coast, let's start there. What started happening for you?
And I want to touch on that. It's like that is a program as well, that we need to be broken down to build ourselves up. And yes, 100%, that is a catalyst for most people's growth. However, it doesn't always have to be this way. And it's always just a reframe of like, how can your pain be your power?
Mm,
Your mess be your message?
yeah.
And yeah, so I guess I just wanted to reframe that. But and the question was how I got to where I am now from moving to the Gold Coast.
Well, so more so like what started happening when you did get to the Gold Coast? You got through that really hard year of like dealing with, the unknowing of like, oh, I don't want to be with him anymore. I got to go up here. Or my friends are judging me, all these things. And you
Yeah.
finally get to where you wanted to go after that year of like absolute turmoil. What started happening for you?
Wow. Where do I even? So I moved in May, and well, I broke up with my partner in the previous year before Christmas, and a few opportunities started coming my way business wise. I just knew, okay, yeah, I'm moving to Gold Coast, like this is a must. And everything just started coming really easy. It's like when you close one door, several others will then open that will more energetically align to where you're currently at. So for me, it was like a kid at Christmas with their Christmas list of all the things they want to manifest, and everything was coming super easy. And for me, I wrote down the specific place I wanted, the price, whereabouts, and within like a couple of weeks, I remember I wrote down universe's list of things to do, so I didn't have to worry, and wrote down the person with the house will message me. I don't have to look for it. And the next day, they messaged me. A month later, after doing seminars with young kids who are professionals in sport, upcoming professionals in sport, and teaching them about mindset, I then moved to the Gold Coast, to Burleigh Heads. And I guess that as soon as I moved in, I then studied my practitioner level course in NLP hypnosis with Luke Pierce. And that just opened up a floodgate of knowledge, of journeying for me, because I was able to then cultivate awareness around my thoughts and the way I spoke to myself and my own programming, and really become introspective in that time. Began to, I guess, develop a sense of identity, of discovering who I actually was without the PT ego, without the girlfriend ego, and finding who I was outside of that.
I love that. You speak of these manifestations, the universe, and all these beautiful things that we both understand, but I'm sure there's people listening that are like, what's she on about? But when did you start to believe in that sort of stuff? Because I'm sure it wasn't something that was it something that was conditioned into you by your parents, or something you heard about them, or was that a bit later in life?
Great question. I want to say that I only really started to notice it and utilize the manifestation techniques, tools, books, probably the start of 2020.
Okay.
However, as I start to release, like, as I've gone through my journey and released like any negative emotions, how we did with you, the process the other day, any limiting beliefs, when you clear that within your system, within your body, you'll start to notice your memory becomes clear. Your unconscious mind will reveal to you memories of previous things when you were ready to let them go and have them be released. So as you go through this inner journey, you may find that you will start to remember things more clearly and receive information more clearly. For me, I forgot about this until this year, where I remember sitting in assembly in primary school. I would have been in like grade 1, maybe prep even. And you know how they would always do like Easter raffles or top performer of the week,
Yeah,
things like
which you
that.
probably got every week, I'm guessing.
I had my fair share.
Yeah.
However, I wanted to win all the chocolate of the Easter raffle. And so I remember sitting there and thinking about, I really want this. I really want this. Like, I'm going to win. I'm going to win this Easter raffle. And that year, I won the Easter raffle.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, this is how this works. So if I see something I want and believe that I have it, then I'll get it. So as a little kid, I'm like, this is a game. All right, cool. Next week, I want to win the teacher award. So like the student teacher, you know what I mean? Anyway,
Yeah.
and I was there doing the same thing, and then I didn't win. And as a little kid, I was like, oh, what? Why did it work? It worked last week. So I was, oh, yeah, next week. Okay. Well, if I believed that I was going to win and I didn't win, maybe I'd just pretend that I'm not going to win. So I would say things like, oh, I'm not going to win. Like,
Oh, yeah, we've all been there.
but even though I secretly wanted it, I'm like, oh, no, I'm not going to win it. Like, I don't even want it anyways. Blah, blah, blah. And then I would win.
Wow. So that
And
technique worked.
yeah. And I was like, okay, that is the key. And I would get really frustrated as a young kid because you can see how, I'll explain in a minute the reason why it works and why it doesn't, but it would work one week and it didn't. So I'd be trial and erroring all these things. And sometimes it would work and sometimes it wouldn't. And the reason that is because what you focus on expands. So if you're focusing on what you want and you feel good about it and you are energetically vibrating at the frequency of the thing that which you want, you will then attract that into your experience. If you are focusing on what you don't want, that is also going to expand. So if I'm focusing on not wanting to win the Easter raffle and I'm still feeling good about it, I'm probably going to attract that into my experience. However, if you are experiencing something, like if you're focusing on something challenging, so for the listeners, if you have a challenging situation coming up for you at the moment, or potentially experiencing some ego death, some soul death, some pain, and you're wondering like, oh, why is this happening to me? If you're continuously focusing on the worst case scenario and what you don't want to happen, and you're feeling the vibration, that energy of fear, anger, sadness, the things that we cleared in you through our session, Trav, if you're feeling that, you're then going to attract more of that experience, which is not what we want, right? So always making sure you're focusing on what you want, coming from a place of knowing that you already have it rather than lack. So it's like people are wanting to attract money these days. Like everyone, I'm sure, is listening to this. How can I focus and expand and manifest more money? It's like if you're in feeling scarcity and fear, and you're wanting more money, that is a complete opposite vibration to each other. So you're not going to attract what you want because you're already focusing on what you don't want, which is that scarcity. So
I love that.
back to what you were saying in regards to when did I first start learning this? Well, apparently really, really young. And I was really blessed to have my mum into The Secret and things like that. She definitely wasn't on my level of passion about it. However, she planted the seed. She showed me the show. I barely remember it. And I think in year 6, she gave me the book, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. And apparently I highlighted pretty much every second word in that book.
Damn.
I don't remember a single thing that is what it's about. So for those listening, thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to write that down. Elise said it's a good book. I have no idea what it's about. I've read it apparently. And yeah, it just, I went through this phase in high school where I completely forgot about all of that stuff. And only really got snapped back into that when I went through that big awakening process during 2022.
Yeah, which 2021?
2020.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and if anyone's wondering, what you can sort of read as well around that sort of stuff, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill is a classic. That's something that I've read multiple times now. And, around Bob Proctor, thinking into results and, just understanding that frequency aspect has been an absolute game changer for myself. So you can hear already what it's done for Elise, even when she was at school. So, and so that would then mean that, going from that ideology and those beliefs, getting into NLP would have been such a powerful thing, because the things it would have taught you, which we can speak into now, like what are some of the most powerful things that you've learned learning NLP, and who was that through the first time?
So the first, I guess coaching I really ever did. So I did some business coaching to get my entire business online so I could move to the Gold Coast.
Nice.
And from there, after business coaching, went into some NLP hypnosis with Luke Pierce, who's an absolute legend. Like, so much love for that guy.
Shout out Luke.
Genuinely wants to see you win. So did some study with Luke, did some Tony Robbins things, and from there, I love this question because it really brought me back to myself, where I am now. And through high school, I got sucked into telling myself these stories of I'm so shy, or I need to look a certain way to experience love, to be loved. So if I was ever like over a certain weight that was comfortable to me, and I wasn't like shredded and had a 6-pack, then like my worth would then be low. That was my unconscious belief. And so I'd constantly be in this battle of trying to be dieting 1 minute and then binging the next kind of thing. So that the discovery of that really allowed me to cultivate this deeper love and connection with my body, with myself. Um, and just knowing that one of the huge limiting beliefs was that I'm too young, and that why would anyone listen to me? And it was coming from just being through school and not going to university, and I guess moving away from the typical system and program that we are taught when we're young, that that's what you need to do to be successful, and taking a different route to that. I guess I thought, well, maybe I won't ever be good enough.
Mm.
And so by learning these things and really being the guardian gatekeeper of my own mind, not letting a single thought that doesn't serve me filter through into my experience, I was able to rewire my brain to more empowering thoughts that are going to serve me and empower me to where it is that I need to go, or who I need to be to achieve that which is what I want, to be in that vibration of what it is that I want.
Yeah, and I love that you spoke into that, and especially I would say, as a coach myself, or actually, I'd say more of a guide. Would you say that the biggest issue you see, especially with women, and I know it's with men too, it's not spoken into as much, it's a self-worth aspect. Our subconscious is being programmed to a point of, like you just said, you felt like you were too young to be listened to. You felt like you were a certain way when you're a certain weight. How do you help people get through that stuff? Like, how would you help a client, say there's a young woman listening to this right now? Because I know in that age bracket from say 16 to 25, and obviously it's every age, but I've seen that in that age bracket, because of the culture, the community, the belief systems around young women at that age, it's so hard to fit into society, especially around Instagram and stuff. They see all these women with like all this makeup and like plastic surgery and all these other things. And there's no judgment on those people that do that, but it's just helping those women understand it doesn't matter if you don't look like that. So how do we change those beliefs around that?
Mm, great question. So, I guess with my journey, I never really fat in school. I've got a really long torso and shoot like super short, muscly legs. And for me, I would always compare my legs to the other girls at school. Like, why are my legs not like theirs, and things like that. And obviously, like, comparison is really the thief of joy, and that that spiraled me into this habit and this unconscious belief of hating my legs and that they shouldn't look this way. And when we have a belief, our unconscious mind will search our experience every single day to cement that and provide evidence for our bias. So rather than looking at my legs as, wow, I love my legs, they get me to and from every single like place I need to go, they're so strong and I just love their shape, to, oh, I just hate my legs and they're not like everyone else's, I would then search my experience unconsciously to prove that bias, to
For
prove
those
that belief.
truths.
Yeah, I'd be constantly comparing myself on social media, constantly comparing myself to the other women at work, at school, because I was like, yeah, see, my legs aren't like them, so that proves my belief. And that's just an example of my experience. So if you are listening to this and potentially you are having those negative thoughts about the way you look or your ability to do something, for me, where I really was able to make that switch to more empowering beliefs about myself, is actually, it came from, the catalyst was from the book A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle.
Mm.
And this one line slapped me in the face. I read it in 2020 and I was like, boom, holy crap. And it was, you are not your thoughts, you are the awareness of them.
Ooh.
Oh, I know.
Say, can you say that again? You are not your thoughts.
You are not your thoughts, you are the awareness of them.
Damn. So it's like those thoughts that may pop up based off certain beliefs may not be true most of the time.
Well, it's like, if you were your thoughts, how would you know they're your thoughts?
Mm,
Like, what is the thing that's noticing the thoughts?
yep.
And I was on my walk listening to a podcast with this, and I'm like, damn, that is gnarly. So, for me and my experience, I then became what I mentioned before, the guardian gatekeeper of my mind. I really hammer this home with my clients. And what that means is not letting a single thought that doesn't empower me filter through to my subconscious. And so every single thought that comes through, just noticing it, being mindful, being aware. Does it serve me or does it disempower me? And if it's disempowering, I usually replace it in that moment with 3 empowering thoughts. So, for example, going back to my past insecurity about my body, if I was like to look in the mirror and wake up and be like, oh, I hate this about myself, I would be like, oh, no, actually, 3 things that I love about myself. Go. Okay. I love my smile, I love my energy, and I love the shape of my body. It's so unique to me. Boom. And at the start, it might be a little bit slow to build that momentum, but it's like a snowball at the top of the hill. So if we get a little snowball and we throw it down a hill, it's going to start pretty small and roll fairly slow. However, the more practice that you have, the more momentum of the snowball, the bigger it gets, the larger it compounds, the more distance it travels, and eventually it will just roll on its own.
Mm,
And so, with that said, every time a negative thought come up, I would go, boom, 3 positive thoughts. And I was teaching my brain, rewiring my brain, my reticular activating system in my brain, which is responsible for what we focus on. Like I said before, what we focus on expands. If I'm teaching my brain to focus on the positives, the things I love about myself, I'm going to therefore search my experience for evidence to prove that bias rather than the disempowering belief.
boom, mic drop. How good. And my most basic way to explain the reticular activated system, guys, is when you're playing GTA, you steal a certain car, you see that car everywhere. That's basically how it works.
Okay. Oh,
That's
what do you
cool.
start seeing 1111 everywhere?
Yeah. What's the time now? So no, doesn't mean anything. Yes,
Yeah.
synchronicities, right? We'll get to that. We love those. Yeah, amazing. That was an incredible tangent. I feel like that's going to be super valuable for a lot of people because from what I've seen in my conversations, just in even just candid conversations in society and whatever these days, it's the self-worth issue. It's so big and people not understanding how powerful the subconscious is and how much we can reprogram it, right? It's like a computer system. We can put whatever software we want in there and adjust a few little things, add some new things, but people don't believe that. They think they can only do that to like their cars or whatever. And it's like, man, our brains and our body, it's so beautiful. And as you said, in a technician fashion, we can rewire, right? So that's really cool. Now, if we go back to the Gold Coast experience, we've gotten into NLP, we've understood a few new belief systems and thought patterns and whatever. You're starting to change people's lives with your coaching. We both know you went on a bit of a journey. Now, when did that start? When did this whole like spiritual awakening come about?
Call it what you will. Spiritual awakening is definitely one way to label it.
A
I guess
rebirth?
for me, okay, so everyone is psychic. We all have abilities, whether that be clairvoyancy, whether it be other, like whether you get messages through just an inner knowing, a gut feeling, or people that say that they're empaths. It's like feeling, sensing that other people are in the room with you. We all have like these little abilities that we may just pass off as just nothing, as instincts, but actually it's intuition. And for me, this didn't really come about until the start of 2021, where I was getting visions about future things that were going to potentially happen. And I would just pass it off as imagination. Oh, that's just my imagination. Why am I imagining all these things that are going to happen? Like, that's weird. Anyway, later down the track, these things that were in my imagination started to come true. And I was like, oh, maybe this isn't imagination. Maybe this is full vision. And so I played with that a lot. I got into like card readings, so tarot, and really started to develop a relationship with my higher self, with my intuitive abilities, and really just trusting what comes up. And especially in meditation, just doing my own version of that. Everyone that starts meditation thinks that there needs to be a certain way to do meditation, and really there isn't. You don't need to sit cross-legged and be silent or listen to a certain thing. It's whatever it is for you. And for me, it's different every single day.
Let's actually, before you move on with that, you just segued perfectly into my new sponsor, the Pottery Studio. They've got this incredible journal, Stillness Every Day.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's amazing. And like, obviously I need time to go through it. I want to be able to speak about it from a passionate point, but it has got everything in here to guide you through that stillness at some point. It's even got QR codes in here for like scan for meditation. So it's got like your weekly affirmation.
Oh,
It is amazing. And these guys are so beautiful. And you just said, meditation is to any person what they believe it is and what they want to do. So for me growing up, gaming was actually my form of meditation. It was an escape from reality. It was a point of allowing me to be present at all times within that moment. And the Pottery Studio, the pottery, that is a form of meditation. They are sitting in stillness. They are in their own thoughts. They are present. And because I know when we want to get people into meditation, they see it as such a woo-woo thing. Not everyone. It's starting to come about as a fairly normal everyday thing, but people believe it's such a hard thing to do or a hard thing to sit there in silence or whatever it might be, whatever their belief is attached to it, it can be so much more and it can be suited to you specifically. So I just thought I'd speak into that, and shout out to the brand new sponsors, the Pottery Studio. I cannot wait to move forward with these guys. And, when this is released, it'll be a week from actually us having officially signed up. So really excited about it.
epic. They sound like a bunch of legends.
Oh, they're
And
amazing.
with that said about like meditation, I just interviewed a Triple J artist who's played with like G Flip and played at Groove in the Moon in Melbourne. And
Yeah, right.
I was asking her about meditation for my podcast, Generation Elevation. And we were talking about what she does to prepare to get on stage and to be present. And it's completely opposite to what I do. And it was a really cool conversation because we were really elaborating on the fact that meditation is different for everyone. So really want to just drive that home for those that are listening.
Lovely.
So what we were saying was meditation and then getting into spirituality and that
Yep.
sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when I was back in country Melbourne, I did try to get into this stuff. However, the people in my circle weren't really supportive of that. They really passed off visions or tarot reading, all these kinds of things that I was getting into as woo-woo and that bullshit, all that kind of stuff. So I was like, oh, okay, like I won't do it then. And coming to the Gold Coast by myself, I was able to just really discover that magical essence within me that I'd never really knew about. And I guess for me, through my meditations, I eventually started channeling messages from my, I guess you could call it my spiritual support team, my guides. And it depends on what model of the world you believe in. For me, I truly believe that we are a soul, a spirit in a human experience with contracts and things that we our I guess our goal is to evolve over time through these lessons, and people that come into our life are no coincidence. And we also then have I guess support along the way from other like magical beings. So that's my belief, and that's okay if you're kind of listening to this and you're like, oh, I don't really agree. That's totally fine, and that doesn't mean That's not going to change anything in the way that you manifest and things like that. So for me, I started getting messages. I started channeling light language. I then traveled up to the sunny coast for the first time. And I was actually originally going to witness Ziggy Alberts. And I was like, yes, live music. Because he's living in Melbourne for the past year during COVID, like no events whatsoever. So it was my first event to really go be around people. And I was with my friend and I told her I'm going to take a separate car because I have a feeling I am going to stay more than one day. He's like, okay, whatever, sure. And literally the next morning, the others slept in, and I got up to go to Stillness in Alex Heads in Sunny Coast. And I rocked up and I saw Todd there. And Todd, funny enough, is actually linked. He knows my ex partner from Melbourne. And so we got talking. He then invited me to this event. I met one of my mentors who I work with now, Morgan. I MC at his events. And Morgan T. Nelson, shout out.
Shout out, Morgus.
And so I went to his event, met him, and then ended up meeting a beautiful lady, Shakira, who invited me to stay at her house for as long as I needed. So I just completely just trusted my intuition. Okay, I need to be here. I have no idea what's coming next, and I'm just going to roll with it, which is completely opposite to the young Elise in 2020 who was so anxiety driven around not knowing the future. So I was like full delve deep into the unknown. And that's where the magic usually happens because I met some amazing people. And then Shakira actually invited me to this networking event where I then saw this guy there and I was like, I need to talk to him today. I don't care if I don't talk to anyone else, I'm talking to him. And I ended up getting put on the same table as this man. And turns out this man was Trav.
Oh, that was an experience, wasn't it? Because the fact that even just the feeling that we were both getting from each other, like it was that energetic sort of connection. And I resonate. I'm sure the listener, you're probably thinking like, what are these two talking about? And yeah, a year ago, I would have been like, this is fucking kooky. But as I started to understand it and understand frequencies, understand the connection you can have with another being that is on that same frequency, it's real because you could feel that. And the fact that, as you said, out of all the tables in the room, it was huge. There was so many people there. You end up right next to me.
Yeah, I was like, I need to talk to this guy. Either I need to tell him something or he's going to tell me something.
Yeah. And then we talked the next day for what, 4 hours or something?
Yeah, so we met up the next day for like lunch and then we ended up going down all the rabbit holes on all the things. And yeah, I think you've spoken about that experience for you on your podcast before, actually.
Yeah, but I'd love to open it up again because what I wanted to speak into, right? So, guys, well, listener, we were talking about just, I don't know even what it was. It was just a random conversation. We're talking and you randomly stopped the conversation.
Talking about your rugby career.
And then you went into this. It was almost like something just hit you, like something just tapped into your head. And it was like, hey, Elise, tell him this. And you stopped, right? Do you remember the feeling that happened when, like, do you remember vividly what actually came to you when you said those things that you said to me?
Yes. So for those listening, being like, what the heck are they talking about? Trav was telling me this feeling that he would get around really just being a protector of his tribe and the language he was using and all these things. And like I said before, I used to say I had a really great imagination and pass these visions off as imagination. And so as I began trusting myself through this journey, I know that these images that come to my mind now actually aren't just being made up. And so with Trav, as soon as he was talking, I got this tingly feeling in my crown. It's always from the right side usually. And I then just saw Trav's past life as an Aztec warrior. And I then started describing to him the experience that was going on. I was saying to him, well, yeah, that's makes sense to why you feel that way. I see you with your family, and this is what's happened in a past life for you, and this is why you feel this way. And I had my eyes shut because I was busy looking through my third eye,
Yeah, yeah.
and uh, and then I opened my eyes, and for those of you that haven't really met Trav, like Trav is a big dude, and like this is the first time that I had met him. Like big rugby guy. I opened my eyes and he was crying, and I was like, "Holy crap! Are you okay?" Like I'm like I didn't even know that I could do that.
It was a deep cry too. Like when you have those cries that are like guttural and like you're convulsing and as
Yeah,
if
you're
you'd lived that experience. Yeah, I was shaking. Hey, it was crazy. It was almost like you took me back to that exact moment that something within me knew exactly what you're talking about. And I had to relive that exact moment.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, even talking about it reminds me of what it was like. It was intense.
Yeah, it was so wild. And I guess now when I speak to people through conversations, it happens a lot. And I know I always get confirmation I'm saying the right thing when I have that like tingly feeling through my body, that feeling of energy that through my crown. And I had that before when I was talking. And for those of you that can't are actually watching this video and are just listening, I went through like a whole spiel. Can't remember what it is right now, but you would know exactly what I was talking about. And I
Mm.
just did a dab and in the camera with Trav because I was like, yeah, mic drop moment for me.
Yeah.
I knew that exactly what I was saying was exactly what I was meant to say. And I get this a lot with clients is when I'm just talking to people and I just keep talking because I know exactly what I'm saying is what they need to hear right now. Even if it doesn't make sense. And then I finish talking and they're like, whoa, that makes so much sense. I'm like, oh, really? Great.
Yes, I can resonate with that because I feel like that's what happens in my tech talks too. It's almost like you go into this certain mode and like you just intuitively say the right things. You listen to the person speak, they say these words, you pick up on a few things, you say these few things. By the end of it, they're sitting there like almost some of them like shaking. They're like, I don't know what you just did, but I feel amazing. Like,
Yeah. And well, it's like what we did the other day when we did a breakthrough session on you.
mm,
I was able, through the power of my words and just intuitively being guided to where we needed to go, I was able to help clear major and negative emotions from your body.
can I just say one of the most powerful experiences I've ever had in my life? And, we spoke into this before the podcast, which I would assume you're probably going to put that other video up as well. But just the way, and Elise asked me how have I been feeling. This was only what, Sunday, so 4 days ago. I feel like a completely different person. Like it just because there was so much anger and sadness and stuff I was still holding on to, I wasn't aware of. So for you to take me back to that time on that timeline and heal those aspects and give all those past Travs those tools that I have now, it was almost like all those younger Travs were like, oh, thanks for that. Cool. Yep, we can deal with this. Sweet, all good. Like all these things they went through that were so painful, they're just not existent anymore because they have those tools now. So back in the past, they're dealing with that shit. They're good.
Yeah.
It's almost like I don't have to deal with that now because I am just in such a good place. I gave the boys the tools I've got now, and yeah, here we are here. So I think that the biggest part of that day, though, was where we were. And this is something I really wanted to talk about because I know you were going to understand it more as well. How important was it for us to be in that spot, in that waterfall, in the Gold Coast, in like, where were we, by the way? I didn't even take notice of where you drove me. You could have taken me and murdered me somewhere, but I just trusted you. I was like, yeah, sweet, let's go.
Trusting the unknown, Trav, that's where the
Yeah.
magic.
Well, all those beautiful things happen for you, right? You just surrendered to it.
Exactly. And so for those that are listening, being like, what the hell did
Yeah.
she do to Trav? Today I took Trav to Kugel Cascades, which is a beautiful waterfall in Currumbin on the Gold Coast. And I did a breakthrough session on him. And this is the stuff that I do with my one on one clients on a regular basis. And I help, I guess, get them to energetically match that which they are wanting to attract. So, what we were talking about before. And like I said, if you don't currently have the things that you want right now, so if you're listening, top three things that you want right now, have a think about them. The first three things that come to mind, what are they? One, two, three. And then once you have those three, why do you not currently have them in your life? And most of the time, there'll be reasons like, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, there'll be limiting beliefs or major negative emotions like fear. And so I asked this to Trav, what do you want? And what's holding you back from that? And then that was able to then, I guess, create the plan for our breakthrough sessions because every client's going to be different. And so with Trav, we cleared major negative emotions like anger, sadness, and fear that was holding him back from being the man he wanted to be. And we also did a process around money before we started this chat today. And the reason why I did this for Trav was because I wanted to give him the value of this experience, what it's like to empty your container of those low vibrational like emotions, those beliefs, and so that he could truthfully speak about it today on the podcast. Because a lot of people don't really know what it is that I do. And for most people, when they ask, I just say, it's magic. Like, you just got to trust in the unknown. And I was truly honored to be able to give this gift to Trav. And I'm really excited to see where he now goes with the Technician podcast, with his business and tech talks. Because, like, honestly, how did you feel after the money process today?
Yeah, money is my boy. The
Just
relationship is fantastic. We are kissing and cuddling and we are good. So, and that's, guys, not only can I say this with all confidence and passion, it's not because she's my good friend. All the best people in the world have coaches. You could be the most amazing coach ever, but I'm sure, Elise, you have a coach, right? Like a mentor,
yeah.
probably multiple. And after that experience this week, the amount of cool shit that has happened, because I'm so open not only to feedback, I'm open to the possibility that I can make money very easily compared to the old belief patterns that I had. Opportunities have popped up. I've just scored my first major sponsor. Like all these, yeah, like all these amazing things are happening. And it blows my mind that people don't lean into these sort of processes more. And yeah, I could sit here and try and tell you what it was, but I just can't. It is literally magic. It is literally like even the friggin' dragonfly landing on my head. Tell people what that meant.
Okay, so I'm just having a little giggle because those that are listening are like, what the heck is this thing about a dragonfly? Like, they might think it's some like code word.
Yeah.
No, guys, when we were doing this process at the waterfall with Trav, the we did this release of anger, and as soon as we did the release, there was a dragonfly that landed on his head. And symbolically, dragonflies represent transformation and letting go of the old and stepping into the new, and like that growth, that spreading your wings. So for that to happen at the exact point of the release in the process that we did was just so like such a coincidence that it was questionable. I was like, that was so on
Yeah,
purpose.
what the hell was that? Like, and my eyes were closed, so I freaked out a little bit, like, what the hell's that? And tried to brush it off. But it all happened so perfectly. Even the way the rain kept starting and stopping, like was it raining during the process every time?
Yeah, so every time that I took Trav back to those major negative emotions, it would pour with rain. And then every time like we cleared them, it would stop and get really sunny. And it's really interesting that you say that you've had so many ideas and opportunities come to you since our session together. And if you're listening and you're familiar with Espen's work, which I'm sure you are if you listen to Trav's podcast, Espen talks a lot about energy being stuck in the three lower centers, the root, the sacral, and the solar plexus chakra. So it's like 75% of our energy gets stuck there. And that's usually where those negative emotions lie: the anger, the sadness, fear, guilt, insecurity. That all lies in the lower chakras. And so, in order for you to get experiences where you're receiving downloads through your crown, your third eye, expressing your truth through your throat, and opening your heart, you need to be able to clear what's in those lower three centers. And that's what we did with you, Trav, which is why you are now getting more ideas about where to go and like downloads, because you have cleared your container. You have more of an energetic flow through your body.
You just reminded me something. This has been the most incredible week in the last 6 months because, guys, I have not needed a nap once this week. Like, my energy from 5 o'clock in the morning when I wake up until I'm up till like 11:30 most nights. Now, it's not consistent work. It's start, stop, but it's a lot. Like, I'm doing a lot. I have had no drops in energy, constant and ideas popping through, like you said. It does feel like everything's open. And for the first time in my life, I'll speak into this. I'm very open. I've decided that I'm gonna like get off. Like, I'm not gonna watch any porn, you know, partake in any of that sort of stuff. No focus on anything to do with like women or anything like that, because I've found that in the past, when I was single in the past, it was an attachment to those external validations from women, and it was almost like that my worth was attached to who I was talking to, or who I was seeing, or anything like that. And it's like, no, this is my time to grow. This is my time to give myself self-love, focus on myself, grow, do all these things, and just spend time with myself, which so many people struggle with. And I haven't struggled once. Like, I cannot explain how excited I am for the journey I'm on now. And it's with myself. So just speaking into that a little bit, it's going to sound weird for a lot of people, because I have told a few people and they're like, what the fuck do you mean? What are you talking about? Because it's so conditioned into us that that is something that we need to do. But the proof is in the pudding for how I've experienced this week. As I said, like limitless energy and ideas and just happiness and just wanting to help. So everything's just unblocked now, and I'm in flow state like all day. Amazing. So I know I don't want to keep you for too long, because I know you got till 7 o'clock, but we can segue straight into your best tools, tips, and tactics that have helped you and are helping you for the listener.
Beautiful. Well, as you were just speaking about like the relationships piece on, I guess, yeah, wanting to seek that external validation and being on dating apps and things like that, what popped into my mind was something I spoke into on my interview with Before the Money podcast. And it's like back to that manifestation process again. If you are finding that you are wanting to attract your ideal partner into your life, or ideal friend, who is that person to you? Like, what do they do? What's their morning routine like? How do they speak? How do they stand? What do they wear? What do they eat? How do they exercise? Do they exercise? What do they do for work? What do they talk about? What do they study? How many books do they read a week or month? What do they like watch on TV? What is their energy like? Write a list of all the things that you are wanting to attract in a partner or a friend or a mentor, and then become the list yourself. So for me, I actually wanted a mentor, and I was like, I want them to be this, and I want them to teach me this, and like really help my growth, and like along with being a friend. And it was funny when I trusted the unknown and became that list of things that I wanted in a mentor, which was like stepping into my confidence and expressing who I really am and trusting my abilities. Then I found Morgan, and I come across him and his work that he does. So if you're wanting to attract a partner, a friend, a mentor, write a specific list of things that you want in that person externally, what is their hobbies, everything, what do they look like, and then become that list. Because by becoming that list, you then elevate your vibration to that which is what you want, making it easier for that thing to find you. And along the journey, it's like prioritizing yourself. It's like what I was talking to you about the other day, Trav, on the story of Ulysses.
The
And
sirens.
how, yeah, and how Ulysses was the only one to sail to new land. And all these ships had tried in the past. However, there were these sirens, these beautiful mermaids in the water that would sing a beautiful divine song. And so the salesmen would get, or the boatsmen would get distracted on their journey and hear the song and then go towards the sirens. And as they got closer to the sirens would eat them and they would die. However, Ulysses was smart. He strapped himself to the mast of the boat, plugged his ears, and plugged everyone, all the crew, with like these little earbud things. And as they sailed across, they slowly drifted towards the sirens. They saw them and appreciated that opportunity, their beauty, however, kept going and kept focused on what they want. And so within this metaphor, the reason why I speak to this right now is sometimes we believe, we're programmed to believe that everything that we need is outside of us. That all the media advertising, especially for women, like on makeup, and guys on like supplements and to get shredded and things like that, and that, you know, there's something wrong with you now, so you need to go and do this, and then you'll get what you want. And it's like, actually, what if you had all the answers within you now? What if you actually have all the resources you need within yourself? And what would happen if you stopped focusing on everyone else's journey, stopped focusing on comparing yourself to where everyone else is at, and started putting the focus on you and what you want? And you could look to the side and appreciate the sirens, appreciate the beauty and the amazing people doing amazing things in your circle and outside and externally to you, while still keeping focus on what it is that you want.
Sheesh. Take that in.
So that would be my tools, tips, and tactics. Focus on what you want and it will expand.
Then that's perfect. And I think I can speak into that confidently, knowing that's exactly what you've done. And I look at the life that you have curated. You've literally created this life. You know, there's no doubt about it. You've taken and manifested everything that you wanted, even to the point, guys, where she was homeless not that long ago. She had no idea where she was going. And then all of a sudden, she just gets this most incredible home on the water in the Gold Coast with this amazing roommate slash landlord, and she's sorted within what, a couple of days on the same day you were driving.
Let's be specific with that. So, I was living in my place in Burley Waters and I needed to move out by a certain date. So, I packed up all my things. My beautiful friend Hillary was like, yep, just come and stay with us until you find a place. And I've been looking for places and I got a little bit stressed, but I was like, nope, I'm going to embody what I teach because this is why I teach it. This is why I'm so passionate about what I do, because there's so many coaches out there that do not practice what they preach. And I was like, yep, like this is perfect. This is a perfect opportunity to truly show everyone that it follows me on my Instagram that this is like what I do. This is how I practice what I preach. And literally I moved out, I brought my stuff to Hillary's, and that night went to an inspection for my dream home. And I wrote down at the start of the week everything I wanted. I wrote down I wanted a pool. I wanted to be on the canals. I wanted this price. I wanted plants. I wanted crystals. I wanted good energy, modern, my own bath. I was so specific with everything that I wanted. Like I said before, be specific with the list because you're going to get what you write down. You get what you focus on. So the people that I told my list of specific things to, they were like, good luck. And I refused to accept that projection. And stayed focused on what it is that I want, and felt the feeling of what it was like to already have it. And then 2 days later, after I inspected that place, I got the call that it was mine.
Mm, that's it's what's been happening for both of us. It all started for me with the Bob Proctor course with Vivian Paul. Thinking into results, I started to understand the frequencies. The As you said, what you focus on, you will receive. And it can be good or bad. Just be careful of that. Whoever's listening, whatever you focus on, just remember that. So, I guess now that you've done all this, you've cultivated this amazing life. What is it that's in store for you this year? Because from what I've seen so far from in 2022, right, especially for myself and my close circle, everyone's doing some incredible things. I feel like there's a lot of amazing things happening. What's happening for you?
Ooh, I remember talking to you about this the other day on how I have this tremendous fire of passion in my heart for what it is that I do. And I will stop at nothing to get what I want. I am so committed to my goal, my vision of impact and change, and helping people feel good and create the life that they want. That is my mission, my absolute goal. So by the time this podcast comes out on your platform, Trav, I would have launched my own podcast
Let's
called
go.
Generation Elevation. So definitely feel free to go check that out if you are listening and you've liked the value I've provided so far. So I'm launching that.
I'm on that, by
And
the way, guys. Definitely worth listening.
yes, I've interviewed Trav. That was a really epic episode as well.
That was cool.
And then there are a few glimpses of what's next. However, for me, I need to focus on one step at a time
Hmm.
and focus on being in the present moment. I know where I'm going and I have that feeling. However, right now, it's like my imagination, my visions show me what I need to do right now, what's next, not what's really coming. I have like a vision that of me speaking on this gigantic stage filled with thousands and thousands of people dancing to Justin Timberlake's Sexy Back. However, it's like I don't want to stress myself out with how I'm going to get there right now,
Yeah.
because what the message that I'm getting coming through is to focus on the podcast, and that is going to then show the next step. So for those that are listening, if you have this goal and you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed on how you want to get there, baby steps. Like you don't just go from 0 to 100 when you've put your foot flat in your car, right? There is some like progression to get to that point. So what is the first thing that you need to do to get a little bit closer to that goal? Like what is something that you all can do today that is going to get you closer to that goal? It could be changing your beliefs, it could be hiring a coach, it could be going to buy that shirt because it makes you feel good, it could be just meditating for a minute or 5, or journaling. It could be listening to a podcast like Generation Elevation or the Technician podcast.
Well done.
It could be just anything like that. And it doesn't have to be leaps and bounds. I think we can all get really caught up in we need to make major moves to get where we want to be. And sometimes the next step is only shown when you've taken the first one.
Love that. And it's actually a really beautiful way to finish this up, and it's right on time as well.
Beautiful.
Was there anything else that you wanted to say to everyone before you leave?
Uh I think I've said it all.
Yeah.
However, if you're wanting to find me on social media, I'm on Instagram at Elise, Elise dot Riley, Rile, 2 Y's. And if you enjoyed this episode, please reach out, DM me, connect with me. I love hearing feedback and any breakthroughs that you had from listening. And yeah, listen to my podcast when it comes out.
100%. And I'm going to put it to you that we're going to get this amazing crew. Everyone's going to come up to the Pottery Studio in Nambour, Sunshine Coast, for a session up there, because its energy and vibe up there is incredible. So whoever's
Ooh.
made it through to this end, which I know is 99% of you, because everyone listens to the end of the Technician podcast, get there and, potentially meet us as well. So thank you so much, Elise. That was incredible. You nailed it like I knew you would. And yeah, as she said, guys, go find her. She's worth it.
Thank you so much, Trav. It's been an honor.
You're all right. Much love.